Brent Jensen.
Alex Huard.
Happy Thursday night.
Did I get a touchdown there? What happened?
You got a touchdown, yeah, man. Of course. You showed up to record with me again. You scored. Or
That's
I should say,
score.
I scored. It's
a score.
Big score.
So?
I saw something today. I know everybody knows we pre-record these. This is January 5th. Guess what 2 albums came out on January 5th?
Give me a hint.
How do I give you a hint? Well, they're artists that have been on this show. They've both been artists that have been on the show. Okay?
Okay.
So,
Yep.
debut albums that came out
Oh.
on January 5th.
The Doors?
No.
Not Guns N' Roses.
Nope.
I
know.
Hendrix, are you experienced?
Negative. So again, looking for 2 2 albums.
They're both debut albums?
Both debut albums, both came out on January 5th.
If you say the year, I'll know it.
Stand by. 1973.
Oh, my. And it was the band's debut record.
Both of these bands' debut records.
Wow. And they've both been on the show.
They've both been on the show. January 5th, 1973. Aerosmith and Bruce Springsteen both released their debut album.
We didn't do either of those records, though.
Not
That's what I was
records, but
thinking.
bands.
Oh.
Well, I thought I said both.
Start to the show. Who are these two dummies?
Didn't I say artists? I thought I said both. Both artists have been on the show.
It was. I think it was my misinterpretation. I thought that you meant the records were featured on the show.
I am really good at not being clear with what I'm trying to ask you. So, happy birthday to the debut albums from Aerosmith and Bruce Springsteen. Is really what I'm getting at here. January 5th. Okay, fuck. So Synchronicity is what we're here to talk about. By the Police. We talked about these guys and their band and their album names too, by the way. Like
who?
What?
The Police.
The Police.
Yes.
I don't get it, but that's fine. That's fine.
You don't get Synchronicity?
Well, I guess I could get no. Well, not really. I understand it's like a Carl Jung thing, but that
It's a lot of different
book, but
a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's Carl Jung, who's a popular psychoanalyst. There is a book called The Roots of Coincidence. I don't remember who wrote that, but Sting was an avid reader and he loved that book. And that book basically, going back a little bit, Carl Jung believed that, I guess you generally could say that there was a large pattern in life and many things were connected that you may not realize due to your unconscious. And so, that was a theory that Sting believed in. But this book that I mentioned, The Roots of Coincidence, has to do with, I believe, modern physics and, things like ESP, extrasensory perception, and the paranormal, and the links between the two, if there are any, and just kind of the investigation of that, which is fascinating to consider. But Sting believed in those things, and he said that there was synchronicity between things in the world, and that's kind of what this album is about, for the most part.
Yeah, I tried to read about it. According to Wikipedia, The Roots of Coincidence is an introduction to theories of parapsychology, including extrasensory perception and psychokinesis.
There you go.
So I stopped there. It's like, I'm not going to understand anything further beyond this. So,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, it's a coincidence, right? When people, it's hard because people think about like organized religion. If they see something, it's like, oh my God, that's my deceased grandmother trying to send me a signal from the netherworld. You know what I mean? And I think that, I'm not going to get into it. It depends on what your personal beliefs are and your personal truths.
It's fine. We have no time limit on this show, Brent. Get started.
Well, everybody's got their own kind of system of beliefs, right? I tend to rely a lot on science, and that's pretty interesting too, because I know that Sting did. He's a man of science, I believe. Maybe the stuff entertained him. I don't know, but I need to see it to believe it.
No matter what, Sting is too smart for anybody. So I think he's just way too intellectual
Super
for
intelligent
anyone.
Guy. Yeah.
And you could see it.
Very intelligent.
You could see it just weighing on the center of his forehead, just right in the middle, because he is just always just like he's always in a scowl or something.
Right. His brow is always furrowed. And he's always concentrating, and he's always contemplating something.
Yeah, I think I have a reason for that, which we'll get to, why he always looked like that. But yeah, okay. we'll get to it. I got a potential reason for that. But
right.
I was just thinking about like Synchronicity, and then what's the other one? Señora Mandada and Regata de Blanc and Outlandos D'Amour. Like I just, Ghost in the Machine. Like
I was gonna say, Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah, that one, but also another one of that guy's books, right? Art Kostler.
Yes,
another one of his books.
That's him. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. I think, was that another book of his, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Ghost in the Machine is another one of his books. So,
yeah,
it's cool, and because I think even in some of these songs, right, he kind of pulls from artists, right? Teen the Sahara, right? He pulls from artists or authors' books. Like, I think it's really neat when people do that, and it's actually been an exercise that I've heard I'd like to do as a songwriter, is like write like a fake song that doesn't there's nothing to do with you. Write something that is close to you. Write a song about something that happened in history. Like, there's different exercises to do, and so like it's kind of cool that you do see that as well in albums like these from artists like this. That's where they get inspiration from.
That's one of my favorite things about this record in particular, is the references to Greek mythology in Wrapped Around Your Finger.
Oh, yeah.
And, Carl Jung's, what is it? Spiritus Mundi, right? Spirit of the World. And Sting references those directly in the songs. And it's cool because if you don't know anything about it, you kind of think like, what is that? And back before the internet, it was very difficult to ascertain what it was.
No kidding.
But Google it and check it out. And again, it adds to the overall experience of, the record and what's going through the artist's mind.
You're going to find this funny, just before we get into the album, you're going to find this funny. I was on a work meeting the other day, and like I'm always like the youngest person on all of these calls, and somebody for some reason brought up the idea of a phone booth. They're like, oh, like there's like a phone booth. We used to do phone booth recordings. And somebody looked at me and went, Alex, do you know what a phone booth is? And I was like, yeah, like that's one of those places where they have portable phone chargers for you to put your cell phone devices, or for you to connect on Wi-Fi to check your Twitter, right? That's a phone booth. Is that what? Anyways, I was kidding, because yes, I did know what a phone booth was, but I thought you'd get a kick out of that because I'm the millennial.
You are. Well, I've made my share of jokes. Yeah, I would have laughed at that.
You've hurled them at me. I get it. I've been smacked in the face by your jokes. That's good. Oh man, this album. Okay, so I'm a big fan of Outlandos D'Amour, right? A killer debut album from a band that like just put together like super talented artist, as we know, Stuart Copeland, Andy Summers, and of course Sting. What's his name? What was his name again?
Gordon Sumner.
So it was Gordon something. Gordon Sumner. And big fan of that. Big fan of this one. Love this album. Loved it. I didn't realize that I liked the Police so much, honestly. Again, this is one of those, like, again, sophisticated bands that I was like, there's too much happening with these guys. And one of the things that I really think that I love the most about it is that they're really driven, obviously, Sting's lyrics and melodies. First of all, so Sting and David Bowie, to me, are like the kings of melodies. Like, these guys come up with these absolutely like, you're humming when they're singing these songs, right? You're just like, they're incredible, like the melodies that these guys can put together. However, Stuart Copeland's drumming is, for me, the best part of the Police. And,
really?
And it's crazy because I'm not a drummer. I've never really been into drummers. But when you listen to him play on these songs, and I love how they mix it, because I feel like they really bring his drums forward in these. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes drums are really kind of in the back, or, you know, they're just kind of the beat. Him, it's like they're right there. And I love everything about his drumming, and that to me is the highlight of both of these Police albums.
That's one of my favorite things about this record and Police records in general, I would say, is that a guy named Hugh Padgham produced these records. He co-produced along with the band, but he engineered too. And he got this super crisp sound out of, you know, the hi-hats and the cymbals, and it's so precise and so sharp. I used to bring Synchronicity in when I bought new stereo equipment.
Oh, nice.
When back in the day, I mean, we didn't have Spotify and in walls and stuff like that. So I would get these Paradigm Phantom speakers that sat on the floor, and they're about 3 feet high. And when I shopped for amps, I would get Nakamichi, Japanese products, and I would bring Synchronicity in on cassette, or on CD rather, and I would ask them to play it for me and listen to that through the system. And they would accommodate, because you're spending a lot of money, because the sonics are just so incredible, like no other record that I can name. These albums, the production quality is tremendous.
Well, I don't know where they recorded the drums in the first album or the others, but I know where they recorded drums for this album.
Where?
In a dining room.
That's right, in Montserrat.
Yeah.
In is it AIR Studios? Yeah.
AIR Studios, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So do you know why they did that? They did that.
Couple reasons.
Yeah, right? Yeah. These guys would fist fight. So towards the end, and that's why they broke up, right? This was their fifth and final record. Yeah. And arguably in 1983, the Police were one of the biggest bands in the world at this time. This record in particular had like 4, I think, top 5 singles, or top 10 at least. But they hated each other, especially Copeland and Sting. They would fist fight and had to be broken up. Unbelievable, right? So they, referencing your point about where they were located in the studio, they were all in separate rooms because Sting, didn't want to hear the rest of the band in his mix, in front of him. But also just because they didn't like each other.
Yeah. Well, first he said it was like when you play bass around, like at the guitar and the drums, it sounds like a frog farting. He says that's what it sounds like. And then, they just, the relationship between everybody was not great. So
the other thing about when they recorded this record, what they would do is funny, because they would go through and play each song 5 times and record all 5 versions. And then they would go through those takes and take the best bits of every song and kind of Frankenstein them together to put together what they called a backing track. So they would take the first half of the second take and then and onwards until they had a proper song. And then they would overdub on that. So they would overdub vocals, or they would, put whatever on top of that and layer it all up. And I think that they were at that point as a band where they were very critical of themselves and very critical of each other. So somebody would listen to something and go, that's garbage. Like Andy Summers would listen and say, I don't think this is a very good album. I don't think we have it anymore. And then when, they mastered this in Montreal, he was sitting down and listening to it and going, oh my God, it's actually way better than I thought.
Crazy.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's
awesome. But while he was creating it, he thought it was shit.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Synchronicity basically gets it all, kicks it off, kind of introduces you up to the idea of what Synchronicity is. And, yeah, a great driving intro and exciting. Got me excited for what was coming here. Great opener.
It sets the tone nicely.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
For a very sophisticated, very, it's such a vast record.
What do you think of Walking in Your Footsteps?
It's one of my favorite songs from the album.
Nice.
Yeah, you hear those 3 notes, do right at the very beginning, and it's kind of like, oh, what's this, right? With a cool drum beat underneath. It's really, really interesting. It is not the Police of old.
No, for sure. So what are this considered just now? Like, again, genre doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious. At the time, is this rock? Now it
was pop at that time in 1983. This was considered pop music.
Okay. So they've now left new wave. They've left punk, if they were ever there. And
after the first record, I think punk was left behind.
Okay.
I would say, if not, yeah. And this is not even close. And keep in mind, Alex, the reason why I wanted to do this, the first and the last Police records as bookends, was to kind of demonstrate that fact.
Right, yeah.
Because think back to like that first record was very raw, very punky, and very kind of, ragged almost.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the complete opposite in my mind. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's interesting just to kind of play them together and think like, Jesus Christ, there wasn't really a lot of time between these records. This is like the first one to the fifth one. But they had evolved as a band so much.
Yeah, you're right. Because
78
to 83, I mean, that's right. Obviously, 5 years. If you do the math. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you're right. Not a lot of time. But still long enough time to develop an absolute hatred for each other, and. It's crazy that Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland were considered like essentially session musicians on this album. Mm-hmm. Like, absolutely wild.
And made to feel that way by all accounts.
Yeah,
like,
that's awful.
It's a shame.
Copeland. I don't know how you can disrespect Copeland. Like, he's just so good. Andy Summers is good. Maybe I don't respect him enough as a guitar player, but I'm not like so like. Oh, I actually feel like a lot of his stuff is really like sloppy, not great. But based on my expertise as a guitar aficionado, but yeah, just not so. That was a joke, but yeah, just not so not so wowed by him. Copeland and Sting's melodies are something else. Yeah. Walking in Your Footsteps, just cool overall story too. Walking these dinosaurs' footsteps, right? The idea that we're like. We're basically going the same way as the dinosaurs. Some cool analogies in here.
Great lyric that goes, if we explode the atom bomb, would you say that we were dumb? He's just talking to dinosaurs, saying we're the same thing is going to happen to us that happened to you. We're going to make ourselves extinct, really.
Yeah, and more specifically, like the Brontosaurus being 3 stories tall, the people being that high up in the world would do something have the power to do something so dumb. Totally. Yeah. It's some great stuff in that. In that song, and just like I love the melody. I love everything about that song.
That's it, right? There's a brightness and a vibrancy to it. There's just something that's very uplifting about this record for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite all that was happening around the band, just like Van Halen and Diver Down. Okay. Oh my God.
Another great song. I love this song.
Yeah. Actually, this is where I actually enjoy Andy Summers' guitar playing. Like it's nice and groovy. It's cool. It helps drive like the drums as well. The drums still carry this, and Sting just does like something really cool with the words, like fill it up, right? Like, but it's just the way that he sings it. It's just like you're kind of like, I don't know what he's saying. But like, like you're just like, I don't know what he's doing, but it's awesome. I'm into it.
It swings. Andy Summers, not one of my favorite guitar players, but you have to hand it to him. He's an extremely versatile and extremely accomplished player. He's not exciting for me. He's not, I would never put him on any of my kind of best of lists or favorite lists, but he's accomplished. He can, that dude can play.
I mean, for them to, in these songs are tough, right? I mean, like so much so, and we'll talk about Every Breath You Take, but like so much so in that song, they had to simplify it so much at one point, Sting just played one note of the piano, right? That's how difficult a lot of this was, that you had to almost be so simple in some of your approaches. And you're right. I think that he should, I don't know if he does. Again, I'm really kind of new to the Police here. If he gets credit, Andy Summers gets that kind of credit for being able to play along with such kind of intricate stuff. I know they kind of develop it themselves, but he does do it properly.
He does.
Yeah, does he? Okay,
I think he's recognized as a very technical, like I said, just he's a gifted player.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a masterclass player.
Yeah. Terrible songwriter. As we get into song number 4.
This is a blight on this record, in my opinion.
This is why Sting quit the band. Okay? This is why he's always so angry. This is the reason. This song. How does he, what?
This is very odd. And first of all, I don't know how this got past Sting. I don't know why Sting let this be on the record.
Because he knew. He's like, this is the last album. Have it.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. That's just my thought.
The funny thing is, I used to really hate this song. I hate it a little bit less lately. I figured out what I really can't stand about it. It's his vocal.
Yes.
He's the reason why he's doing that is he's mocking his relationship with his mother.
Right.
Because apparently when he was a kid, his mother doted on him and he was kind of like the golden child and she was so proud of him. And I think that, when they recorded this, he wasn't comfortable with the fact that she believed that he was that golden child. Now he's a pop star and one of the biggest bands in the world. And so he just he mocked that idea. And he really, really overdid it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's unlistenable really for me.
It is his singing, man, because I'll be honest, because when he doesn't sing, I don't mind the instrumentation. I don't mind when he's not singing. It's really interesting. It's kind of like, you should have just kept it an instrumental. And you guys have done that before. Put it at the end of one of the sides, and I'm cool with it. But when he comes in do it this, you the hell is it? Stop it.
It's really horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really horrible. I was listening to this over our little break here, and I messaged you, Brent, and I was like, wow, Mother is absolutely terrible.
I know, it's so funny. And what's really funny is that when you put this album on for somebody who's not heard it before, like say if you've got a girlfriend or somebody who just is not familiar with the Police, and you throw this record on, it's like the first 3 songs are very nice, and then this song comes on and you hear and people squint and go what, did you change the record?
Yeah, you got to jump over to the record and quickly switch it before she leaves. I know.
It's so funny.
I know.
Turn this off.
Well, I put it on at dinner time, right? And I was like, yeah, all right. This is, and then it got to this, and I was like, that's my mother. And I was like, I got to run over to the TV and turn it off before Karina's like, what are we listening to?
Right. Exactly.
And then it ruins the whole Police experience for anybody else.
That's right.
Because that's what they think
turn
about.
that album off because there's probably another song like that on this album somewhere, and I don't want to hear it.
There isn't, though, because aside from Mother, this album is perfect. But Miss Grudenko,
love this song. Yeah,
guitar playing.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar playing, really good.
Great. but the bass playing too is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not just like doom, doom, doom. It's like he's got all these really cool bass melodies happening.
Yeah. And then the chorus. Nobody but us in here. Like, it's like, I can listen to this song 10 times in a row and have the exact same, like, yeah.
I knew you would love this song.
Oh, yeah?
I knew it
so
just
good.
because of that part. Nobody but us in here.
It's great.
I knew you'd love that. Yeah. That's funny. I knew that you were really, really going to enjoy that.
Nice. Copeland song, right? Copeland wrote this tune.
By himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. Love it.
Yeah.
The solo, though, solo. That's, again, where Summers loses me a little bit. Whatever it is. Doodle-doo, doodle-doo, doodle-doo. Maybe you didn't need it. I don't know. Like, just make it a drum solo.
It's almost like he's kind of he's a nerd, right? He's over gifted, and he doesn't know how to kind of relate to the mortals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
He's like looking down on us going, no, you guys don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't have the intellectual capacity to understand that this is like
That's why this solo
genius.
works. That's why this solo is actually perfect, and there could be nothing else that works with this. Whereas Sting, on the other hand, he gets it. He knows what the mere mortals need to listen to. He understands the melodies that resonate with
That's right.
everybody. He doesn't like anybody, but he gets it.
He gets it.
He gets us.
What's next? Synchronicity 2.
Which is what? Is that the end of side 1, or is this the beginning of side 2?
No, that is the end of side 1. I think it's 5 songs aside, or 6 songs aside. Yeah.
There's 11 songs. Oh, I guess there's 10 technically on the record.
Yeah, because the last one wasn't on there, correct?
Right. It came out on the CD or whatever later
By
on.
numbers came out later, yeah.
Got it. Okay, sorry. So Synchronicity would be the start of side 2.
It would be. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Start of side 2.
Right.
This is basically like Sting's side. Yes, but hey, let's all go to the lobby. 1 second. Let's all. Synchronicity 2.
Those songs were linked at one point, Synchronicity and Synchronicity 2. And apparently, the other 2 guys in the band, Sting writes most of the songs. The other 2 guys in the band have said to him, so why did you call them 1 and 2? And he would never tell them. I don't know if he had an answer or not.
Of course he didn't. He's Sting.
I know there's all these like Jedi mind tricks going on between the members of the band. But Summers said that there was a missing piece of music that they wrote to try to link the 2, because the 2 are quite different, as you know, right? But apparently there was a piece of music that existed that they tried to put in the middle of those, but it didn't work because it was too psychedelic. And Miles Copeland, who was the manager of the band at that time, Stuart's brother, said, it's not going to work. I wouldn't try it. And they voted it down.
Interesting.
But there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of stuff in the vaults for the Police. Do you think about like all the B-sides they released, that Japanese B-side, what is it? Someone to Talk To.
Right.
And then what's the other one?
That was the only one I came across. I didn't notice the other ones.
There's another. I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
But there's 2. I think there's a lot of unreleased material. And I've never seen it on the market. If someone has, pipe up in the comments. But I think there's a good chunk of material out there.
Gotta be. Sting, he's gotta like. There's gonna be a point where Sting needs money, right? There's gotta be, right?
No.
No, it'll do the Neil Young thing and do the Police archives. No.
No.
That'd be cool, though.
Believe so. Once Upon a Daydream is that song.
Oh, it came to you.
Yes.
Once Upon a Daydream.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was the B-side of one of the singles, Could Be Wrapped Around Your Finger. Yeah.
Cool.
It does not appear on a record anywhere.
Yeah. What about live records? Any of those show up on live records at all? Do you know? Maybe?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
No.
That's cool. Once Upon a Daydream. Okay. Track 7.
Track 7.
Or 6 if you're on the vinyl. This is it. This is the hit.
This song was assembled from pieces. Apparently, they couldn't play it from start to finish.
Right. See, that was the thing. That was what I was thinking about. Right. It was tough, like to get the guitar line. Originally, Sting sang it as a demo with a Hammond organ, and then they brought in Andy to do the guitar, obviously. And then Copeland had trouble with the drums, and
Yeah.
there's a point. Sorry, go ahead.
They fought.
Yeah, totally. Like they would go ski. Like they would go skiing in Montreal, or Copeland would go skiing, and Sting would mix. And then Copeland would come back, put a hi-hat in something, and go back, and Sting would come in and be like, who the fuck put the hi-hat in there? And go back, and then Copeland would come in, and he'd be like, where's my fucking hi-hat? Sorry, that's where I was. It's wild.
No, that's there's a similar story about Black Sabbath when Ronnie James Dio was in the band. After Ozzy left, Dio came in and did 2 records. And towards I think it was the live album, Live Evil, the 3rd record they did. Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is part of the lore, that Ronnie James Dio would sneak into the studio at night when no one was there and like mix his vocals up. Apparently. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And then, Iommi would go and like put them down and put his guitar up and stuff. So there was like this spy versus spy thing going on. Guys were sneaking into the studio and like mixing themselves higher than they should be.
That's so cool. It just like provide the producer like an 8-ball. Be like, here, let me in at the end of the day. And the other guy would come back with a bigger 8-ball and be like, hey, let me come in at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy was just so okay. Yeah. That's funny. Anyways, a lot of fighting, like just crazy around the making of this song, but great song.
It really
is.
The drums got added much later to the song.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it was assembled in pieces. Hugh Padgham, this was the point where he almost walked away, because it was during the recording of this song and everybody kept calling everybody else out for making mistakes. And Sting and Copeland came to blows. They started fist fighting. And Padgham walked out and said, I'm done with this now. I can't finish the record with you guys. And they convinced him finally to come back.
Well, Padgham, he would side with Sting a lot because, I mean, especially with songs like these, because they were Sting's songs. So he'd kind of be like, I got to go with Sting. And then I guess he'd go on and produce some of Sting's other albums. But, I mean, that's tough. I think he did the right thing, though. I mean, you got to side with the guy whose music it is, but...
Well, Sting also recorded his parts in the control room beside Hugh Padgham.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that.
Was he on a yoga mat or something like that? He would exercise or something while he would sing at the same time too, and he had to be like,
Probably.
Can you settle down? Because whatever. And then like I was mentioning earlier, that piano part, I guess, obviously there's some piano strewn throughout the song, but there was one point where Sting was trying to really get a piano piece included in it, and eventually Hugh had done an album with a band, Ecstasy, I guess, and there was XTC, and there was a solo that they recorded with one note. It was a one-note solo, and that came to mind during the recording of the song. And so when I guess Sting was just hitting one note, he was like, "Yeah, just keep hitting that note." You'll find more piano throughout it, but there was that one moment that they focused in on.
It's so interesting to be able to kind of, I guess, visualize that in an auditory way. Do you know what I mean? So imagine that that's the right thing to do. You can hear it in your head, and it's like Brian Wilson or Neil Young did that with Cinnamon Girl, just that one note over and over again. But it works.
Yeah.
But if you propose that, people would go, that's not going to work.
No.
It's going to sound terrible. And then they did it and said, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think he even had reservations that he was telling Sting, like, do this.
Yeah.
Can I do this? You should do this. And they did it, and he listened, and I think he was also surprised. Hugh was surprised that Sting listened to him. But consistently furrowed brow. King of Pain.
Really good song. But Sting's breakup, I believe.
Well, actually, it's a good point. We didn't even talk about that with Every Breath You Take. Like, that was really derived from his split with his ex-wife.
Was it true? It was was it Trudy Styler? So he's married to Trudy Styler now, I believe.
So he left his former wife to marry Trudy, who he's married to now.
Okay.
So he was married to Trudy's best friend. I can't remember her name. And I guess she lived next door to them. And so they ended up having an affair. That's when
No way.
That's when so when that came to light, that's when he went to Jamaica to escape from everything, to escape from the media and stuff like that. And he actually stayed in Ian Fleming's GoldenEye house and wrote this song. Yeah. And he said he woke up and the words kind of came to him. He said it's a really rudimentary, basic melody and chord progression, but it was the words he found were really interesting. And of course, everybody talks about it being a romantic song, but he said it's actually very creepy.
It's super creepy. It's almost predatory.
Totally.
I'll be watching you. Right? It's kind of like, ugh.
Like, even that seems okay to me. It's when you start to break it down when he says like every vow you make and there's just other certain lines that he talks about that are really like every vow you break, every stake you make. That's what it is. The stake you make, like that to me is the really creepy part. Anyways, it's all very creepy.
He often kind of regurgitates lyrics in other songs, like in a jokey way. And so what he did during his solo career is, I think it was on his first record, The Dream of the Blue Turtles, I think. And I can't remember the name of the song. It'll come to me later. But he was just, the outro of the song was playing and he was just goofing around. And it was the same kind of vocal melody. So he said, every cake you make, and he said, every egg you break. So he was like kind of like riffing on every breath you take. You can hear it right at the very end of the song. I'll think of what it is in a second. But anyway, yeah. So he's been known to do that over the course of his career, just like make these connections, Again, he's big, he's into like Young and all this. Everything is connected, right? Everything has a pattern.
Yeah. It's every claim you stake, by the way. It's every smile you fake, every claim you stake. Those things just seem really creepy to me. But like, yeah, because it's funny you say that with regards to him kind of having fun with it too. Because I feel like he I mean, you see that in Walking in Your Footsteps too, right? He has fun, as well, writing and seems like performing anyways. So that's cool. Anyways, we kind of went back into Every Breath You Take there from King of Pain, but you're right. Then King of Pain is also, I believe, about the breakup as well, or a separation.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think the song is "Love Is the Seventh Wave."
Oh, good.
That's the name of the song.
Wow, are you following everybody? Are you back and forth with us?
I know, we're all over the place. This and
sorry, yeah. You probably read it already in a factoid, but we're back here again. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, King of Pain. Love this song. Favorite song on the album. I love the melody of it.
Oh.
I love everything about. I love the end. The end is so cool, and he's just like King of Pain. Like it just, it's just so great.
Used to be jammed with all like every instrument known to man. Apparently, like they loaded everything into the song, and it was so busy. And they were listening to the playback, and Sting was sitting beside Padriñán at the mixing board. And he said, this is shit. That's what he looked at him and said, this is shit. And Padriñán said something like, I can't disagree with you on that. I don't like it. And so they sat there in silence thinking like, what are we going to do? Should we just do it over? And they started stripping instruments off of it until it didn't sound like shit anymore.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you could with this song. Like, it's great. I love but I love the way they've done it, because that whole opening is so like you're really listening, and then Copeland comes in with that great snare hit, and then they get into this really interesting time signature, because it almost feels like Black Dog, right, by Led Zeppelin. It's like it's off. It's kind of weird, but they make it work. Like it is all in time. Then you think about it, you're like, it's the police. Of course it's on time. They know exactly what they're doing. But it feels really weird when he starts singing that line again. There's a little black spot on the sun today, and the drum is coming in, and it's just, and then all of a sudden it gets to like halfway through that first verse, and everything is just gelled.
They go double time with the rim snare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about this song. There's so much that they do that is just technical, but just melodic and beautiful and perfect.
Yeah. Very, very clever.
Yeah. There's a little black spot on the sun today. That's what he said when he was in Jamaica. He came out, he looked at the sun, he thought about everything that was happening in his life, and it was like he could see like there's a black spot on the sun today.
I always wondered about that line. I always thought that was there's great lyrics in that song.
Yes.
There's a flagpole rag and the wind won't stop.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Because being in Jamaica, right? I don't know. Maybe just had
skeleton choking on a crust of bread. Like really evocative, you picture these things and it's so cool that he came up with that.
Mm-hmm. And again, too, like just that juxtaposition like he did in Walking in Your Footsteps with this kind of like dark undertone, great happy melody. Same thing with this, right? It's very like, the messaging of it, and then, but musically it's.
That's a very popular device. I've talked about this a million times before in the 70s. Those flouncy, like the Carpenter songs are like, do, do, do. And then she's like, I wish I was dead, and it's like, holy crap, really?
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Just love it. Love it when they do it like this.
Yeah.
Wrapped Around Your Finger.
I love this song, and I love the video for this song.
Oh, yeah?
Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah.
I got to look at some more videos now, too. There's so many things I got to add to my list of to-dos while looking at these albums.
The thing is, during that time, the medium was so strong in terms of like, videos, and you kind of almost accessed the song through the video often, unless you're like a hardcore fan. I was not of the Police at this time, but I remember seeing that video, and it was done by two guys named Godley and Cream. They were like a kind of a partnership. And I won't talk about what it's about. What I will say about the video that I always thought was very intriguing is that there's a couple shots of Andy Summers playing an acoustic guitar for some reason, despite the fact that there is no acoustic guitar anywhere on this record, including Wrapped Around Your Finger. I always wondered, why did they do that?
Well, was it actually supposed to represent him, or was he just, did it look like they meant for it to be like sort of a performance part from him, or like
he's kind of like dancing around playing it. The lyrics in the song are amazing too, right? The Greek mythology. So he references a number of things. And Sting is so great with the rhyming couplets. Like the words he rhymes are so amazing. Like Canary in a Coal Mine, going back to Señora Mondada. He rhymes the words influenza with forenza.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
So in this song, he rhymes the words master with alabaster.
Jeez.
I will turn your face to alabaster when you find the student, or when you find your servant is your master. Love the lyrics.
He is great. Tea in the Sahara, no different in terms of being able to write a killer song.
But again, the literary references, right? So from a book named The Sheltering Sky. I don't remember who the author was.
Paul Bowles.
But what is it?
Paul Bowles.
Paul Bowles. About 3 women who invited Prince to join them for tea in the Sahara Desert. And the song basically, he doesn't ever come back, but they wait and they wait and they wait for him until they die in the desert. So Sting loved this book, apparently, The Sheltering Sky, and referenced it quite a lot. Funny fact that I just remembered about this, in an interview much later, he said, I used to really like Tea in the Sahara until I listened to it recently. all these years later, and I realized we played it way too fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in the live version, that's right. The recording and the live version, he said that they played it too fast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, eh?
Oh, he's such a taskmaster and just so particular, right?
Yeah, like shut up. Nobody else was thinking that, you know?
It didn't occur to me.
Yeah, I didn't think about it either, man. Like,
it's a great song.
It is, yeah. Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I guess this is it's kind of like a tale within the book. It's not necessarily what the book is about, but it's like a story that somebody tells to somebody else as like a, you know, it's like an Arab, I think it's like an Arab tale or something like that. Kind
like
of
a parable.
Yeah, something like that, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think it's about Americans being, wanting to be travelers and not tourists.
Billing themselves as travelers and not tourists.
And not tourists, right.
Right.
And so they're Americans that go and have tea in the Sahara with a prince. And they have a cup, and then he leaves, and then they wait, and yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. Love this song. Love it. It's a great album,
man. Did you listen to Murder by Numbers?
I did. I thought it was part of the album, so I went into it and I checked it out.
Yeah, I kind of recognized it as part of the album because when I bought this, I bought the CD and it was on there.
Yeah, cool.
But it was not on the original.
Interesting.
Yeah, and great, and interesting because it kind of provided a little bit of foreshadowing as to what was to come from Sting's solo career. If you listen to this song,
cool.
Just in terms of the jazzy swing of it, and if you listen to all of his records, especially his early ones, there's a lot of jazz on those records.
Yeah, I love Copeland's playing in this. Like when you listen to it and you listen to him play through this album, like it really stood out to me in this song. It's all over the place through the album once I went back and listened to it again. But there are just like, we know how we talk about him cradling, the drumstick. It blows my mind how fast he can play with one hand, and there are little note hits that are just like, it's not just one, it's like, and it just adds something. Like I'm not trying to be like too like, oh, you gotta listen, because of all the, but those are the things that like when I heard them were like, I was like he's not just going and then back to it, like he's just playing it with one hand because he has to, like that's the only way that he can do it with what else he's doing on the drums. But that was this song, it really stood out to me how he plays that way, and he adds in those extra triplets and things like that on the different parts of the drums, and then it really stood out throughout the rest of the album after going through this once, listening to this song and hearing it throughout the album. So great. I
used to love those really long tubular toms that he had with the very small heads, right? He would start, how when like a typical drum set, you've got your toms and they start like the small ones all the way to the big ones and then the floor tom. But he had these very tiny ones, and they would make these very, and he would go across, but he, like he said, like he would cradle that stick between his, like the old jazz guys, and he would just whip that stick and cover so much ground on his kit so quickly that it's just amazing to watch.
It's really close to a 5. I mean, Mother it brings it down to a 4.5. Get Mother off the album, it's a perfect 5 out of 5. 4.5.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
With that said,
so many ways that we can go here.
Yeah, you lead, I'll follow.
Oh. No, I can't do that yet.
Oh.
How about we stay kind of on this vibe? I want to touch on a guy that I think is like super important and does not get a lot of attention. He gets a lot of respect in the industry, but not a lot of attention. Not enough as he deserves. Not as much as he deserves, anyway. His name is Elvis Costello, and this record is This Year's Model.
Okay.
I want you to have a listen to that.
All right.
It's in this. It's in the same. It's not 83. It's late 70s, I believe, or early 80s. But it's super influential. A lot of people learned a lot from Elvis Costello, but he kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people. He didn't get a lot of respect from music fans, not as much as I think he deserved anyway. But I'm very curious to see what you have to say about this record, because I think it's fantastic.
I know the name. I've seen him in some documentaries, but I've never really given him the time of day on any of his projects. So,
well, see what you were saying about the Police earlier. I never knew that I liked the Police, or I never knew that I would like them this much.
Yeah.
Maybe lightning will strike twice here. Let's see.
Sweet.
Yeah.
One can hope. I don't know why I said it like that. I know where else I was leading to.
It was very dramatic.
I mean,
ooh,
that's me. Just up in the dramaticism here on every Thursday. Yeah, good, man. Sweet. Elvis Costello.
Yeah. This year's model. All right.
Rock and roll, man.
Rock and roll.
Let's go listen to Aerosmith or Asbury Park. What?
Asbury Park.
Yeah.
Oh, January 5th. Got it. Right over my head.
Yeah, it was a bad start. Great, man. Well, we'll see you next week for Elvis Costello. Great.
You bet.
Okay.
All right.
Later.
Here's to you and those like you.
Cheers.